Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Authoritas Tea Time SEO. This is where we encourage everyone to take a quick 15-minute break, tea break, if you've got your tea ready or your coffee ready. Encourage everyone to connect with one another and learn something new. I'm SEO Joe Blogs, and I'm also joined here by Carrie Shepherd on the show today. Today, we also have three great speakers talking about international and multilingual SEO. We have Aleyda Solis, Gianluca Fiorelli, and Nitin Manchanda. And we have loads of questions that ourselves have got lined up to ask our speakers, but please drop your questions in the chat and we will be answering them afterwards. So without further ado, I will pass over to Aleyda and everyone will introduce themselves. Just want to say also thanks very much to our speakers for giving up their time to share their tips. I know everyone's quite busy at the moment, and thank you also for some of our regulars that are coming today. Over to you, Aleyda.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me today. International SEO is one of my favorite topics. As well, you know, I am an SEO, especially who's highly focused on it. I have my own SEO consultancy that is called Orainti. I am a usual speaker also at events everywhere. Well, not now, mainly online, right? Because we're stuck at home. But yes, I have written a book in Spanish also. I do the Crawling Mondays video series to SEOFOMO, my SEO newsletter too. So I'm very happy to be able to share with you today and looking forward to go through a few international SEO tips.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gianluca Fiorelli. Maybe you may know me also as GFiorelli1 on Twitter, where I'm mostly present. And I'm Italian, living in Spain. So international SEO was somehow a natural way to start doing SEO when I started back in the day. We're talking about 2004, 2005. I speak to in conferences. You maybe have seen me in Brighton SEO or SMX London, or if you are from the States, you maybe saw me at ModCon or PubCon. And I'm also the founder of a digital marketing conference, Winbounder, but let's cross fingers will return. It was preview for 2020, but with everything's happening right now, we decide to move it to 2021. So we will all wait for you. Expect you to come to Madrid and you're talking about SEO and digital marketing.
Yeah, hi, this is Nitin Manchanda. I'm working for a company called Omio, which is a travel tech based in Berlin. So I live in Berlin, and I've been hosting webinars for SEMrush for roughly 3 years now. I've hosted like more than 40 webinars. So I'm happy about that. And then I started my professional journey back in 2012 as software engineer. So I was software engineer and then product manager, and now I do like SEO from marketing side only. So I have seen like all the phases when you deal with SEO. And I love automation, I love scalability, I love technical SEO and international SEO. And I'm really, really happy for this opportunity because I'm now sharing this stage with two of my favorite international SEOs. I'm quite young in terms of experience in front of them. So I'm also here for learning some new tips today. Yeah.
So allow me to start a little bit the conversation, right, by sharing a few tips in international SEO. And I really do believe that at very high macro level, the key to success is to learn to prioritize the whole localization process to connect with the local user search behavior of your international audience while making it profitable. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing it, is to generate a positive ROI, right? So in order to do so, what I have found super critical and fundamental is to target country markets that have enough demand for your supply to justify the cost and in order to reach and achieve a positive ROI, right? That there's a very common issue that I see clients having coming to me saying, look, Aleyda, I have dozens or sometimes hundreds of international web versions, and I do not have resources to localize, to optimize them, to do a keyword research, to properly optimize the search experience, the content, to connect with the way the user search in each market. And the reason is that they have tried to cover too much, too soon, too quick, right? Without validating if there's enough demand that will satisfy and will justify the efforts, the optimization efforts. Because at the end of the day, if there is enough traffic potential, conversions potential coming from those pages, it will definitely be worthy for you to optimize and to invest in the optimization of that content to connect with the user search behavior in that particular market. Then on the other hand, another very important and critical aspect is to be agile. And for that, I will say that in most cases, of course, there are some edge cases and particular scenarios, but in most cases, I will say that leveraging your current web structure to target completely new international markets at the start, it usually tends to pay off to start doing it so with subdirectories under GTLDs, instead of trying to reach every individual country market with particular CCTLDs, because you will need to start from scratch every single time, growing the link popularity of every domain, maintaining also independent domains which might be non-trivial for you. So especially if you're not a huge brand, if you're starting from scratch, I will say it's better to consolidate all of the authority in a single property, a single domain, and enable subdirectories in your GTLD to target each country, then register independently each subdirectory and geolocate it to the relevant market, to the relevant country market through the Google Search Console. And then another big issue I will say in international SEO is the one of hreflang annotations. That is the typical question that I get asked all the time. Oh my God, how do I do to implement it without errors, right? And again, prioritization in this case is critical, because I have found that many websites implement hreflang for scenarios where it's actually not worthy. So a lot of effort goes into nothing. So realistically, the most important question to ask here is that if you really need hreflang annotations at all, and if you do so, in which pages does it really pays off for you to implement it? And it will tend to pay off when you have different alternate pages for featuring the same content, the same product, the same service across different markets, usually country markets that share the same language. And then it's important that you verify if these pages are actually getting their traffic from their own targeted market. If so, then the problem that hreflang will tend to fix doesn't exist. So it wouldn't be something that will be really required for you. It will be something that will be nice to have, but not a must-have or important to have to fix an issue, right? However, if you do find that in your, let's say, UK pages, you're bringing a lot of rankings and traffic from the US, while you do have those same pages for the US audience, then those are the cases, those are the scenarios, and those are the particular pages where it will really pay off for you to prioritize and implement hreflang annotations. And for that, I would recommend that you take a look at the hreflang tag generator tool that I have completely for free, that you can use as a reference for the pattern, or also, of course, the international SEO documents, the official ones from Google.
Hi. So I was imagining that Aleyda was going to present us more technical kind of tips. So I concentrated mine more to the content and localization one. Just starting with one generic, very generic technical tip. 99% of the cases, all the problems we may have with technical international SEO is because our general technical SEO grade is not so good. So before even thinking to start creating new subfolder, new version, country version in subfolder, subdomain, whatever you want to decide finally to implement your international version, conduct a technical SEO audit and fix all the problems that may affect also international SEO from a technical point of view. For instance, check and verify the canon localization, check and verify all the use of a no-indexed robots, how the robot TXT has been set up, and so on. Verify that, correct all the things, and then start implementing all the technical stuff of international SEO. Then, going to content and localization. Using a really nice new little browser like Browser that came out a few weeks ago, start to investigate how the SERPs are differing from country to country for the same query. This is especially important. Obviously, it's important for all the languages that you are targeting, but especially if you are targeting more country with which are sharing the same language. Go see what are the differences, because you know that the SERPs are somehow a mirror of a search behavior that Google is detecting from its user. So making this kind of analysis, you are going to be able to also see the differences that you may have to target in order to better individuate the needs and answer the needs of the local audiences. I personally like then to go check in Google Image the image tags. There are differences also there from country to country for the same query. The image tags usually are entities or attributes related to the main entity, which is the one we are targeting with our keywords. So this is also a really easy way to start scheduling and designing our following keyword research, because we see the main entity, which is our main keyword substantially, and all the entity related. So we can see what are the topics that we have to target from country to country, market to market. Then obviously start do your keyword research, and yes, try always to be supported by local experts, in the sense that you may know a market, your own market, but it's always better, it's always a good idea to have a backup from local SEOs, especially for countries that you don't know. Also because they know especially the behaviors of local markets. Then use Google Trends a lot. This is especially true because don't consider that what the trends that you are seeing in your country are global. I mean, a classic mistake, one of the funniest mistakes I've seen in a client of mine was that it was UK based, and so in all the website was promoting all the same kind of clothes. It was forgetting that in Australia, when here is winter, in Australia is a summer, and it was promoting winter clothes in Australia during the summer. This is a really simple, very stupid example, but it's something that is real. So use Google Trends in order to detect seasonality, and also to detect local trends related to your product, to your service, in order to start localizing your content, and maybe also your top of the funnel content with specific blog posts, etc., etc., etc. And finally, remember that localization is not just, as you can see in this last point, I put localization with S and not with Z, because I'm talking with especially it's supposed to be a more British UK audience than US audience. But this is not localization. It's just one thing of localization. Localization is also choosing the right image for the countries you are targeting. Don't show, let's say, don't use the white if you are targeting India, and Nitin can confirm, because white is not such, it doesn't represent the same things in Western countries than in India, or other colors, or using a woman, or using a man, or something like this. Remember, localization is also a lot about image, about visual, but also about product placement. If a product is more searched in a country, put this product right in front of people from that country, and vice versa from other markets. So these are my 5 tips for you.
Yeah, that's me. So yeah, I'm starting from where Gianluca stopped, localization, which is really important because for us as SEOs, it's not, well, of course, it's important to generate traffic, but the most important thing is converting that traffic to a user, which comes again and again on our website and then converts from there. So this is what we want to achieve here. And here you need to make sure that once a user lands on the website, you are basically touching the heart of this user and then converting this user to a proper customer, and then making sure that this user comes again and again on your website and does the transaction again. So this is what you want to achieve. And for that, you need to make sure you have proper localization in place. And here, localization is much more than just content, as Gianluca mentioned. So here we're talking about content, and content is important. So your keyword research should be very, very localized. For example, if you have a landing page, let's say you're selling football shoes, and if you have a landing page for football shoes for your UK market, that's totally all right. But if you have a same landing page, you're talking about football shoes for the US market as well, well, probably you're targeting wrong or incorrect target set here, because football in US is a different game altogether. They call it soccer. So maybe your landing page should be like soccer shoes or something. So this is just one example. And then another interesting example, because I live in Germany for more than 3 years now. So in German, they have a character which is called Estet. It's double S in English. And like a decent percentage of Switzerland also speaks German. And they don't have this character at all. They use double S instead. So this is how you can basically think about tiny things to make sure when user lands on the landing page, you are making them happy. You are feeling, you are basically giving them the feel that this is their product, and they don't want to go anywhere else for whatever they want to do on a website like yours. So content is important, and then currency. So for example, I'm living in Germany. I get my salary in euros. I do all the transactions in euros. If I'm on a website which only allows me to pay in USD, I will be a little hesitant. And let's say, I mean, USD is still a kind of standard currency. So if there's a website which is only allowing me, let's say, like yen, right? So I might not be comfortable paying in that currency. And then payment gateway as well. So for example, if in my country there is a payment gateway which is not supported at all, and if you're giving me only that option to pay, I might not be comfortable again. I don't have an account. I don't want to create another account for paying for just one transaction on a website which I'm using for the first time. So think about all these things. And Gianluca also mentioned about colors. So I would totally agree on that. So India probably would not, we would probably not go with white for all the things, but blue, for example, because a lot of people follow different sports, right? So our national jersey for almost all the sports is blue. So we are kind of attached to blue. So whenever I see blue, I feel good about it. So you can think about this. And I think for Spain, is it red, Aleyda? I guess it's red.
Yes.
So I see a lot of red in Spain, right? Yeah. So like every country is kind of associated with some color. So think about that. Think about these tiny elements and make sure, yeah, there you go. So think about tiny elements and make sure all the users are happy when they're landing on a website. Yeah. So this is my takeaway on localization part. And then, so hreflang, which is a very important thing when you're talking about internationalization. And it is very easy to mess up there with hreflang tags. And I actually saw a website which was pretty decent in size, and they were using en-uk for the UK English. Well, that's incorrect. The right one for the UK is GB, Great Britain. So these are very tiny things that you can just cross-check looking at these two lists, which is ISO 639-1 for languages and 3166-1 for regions. It's pretty easy. When you're implementing it, just check it once. And once you have it in your system, you cannot go wrong with that. It's really easy to implement, but it is also really easy to go completely wrong on these topics. So these are my two tips here for you. And I think we are good to move to the next one now.
Thanks for that,
That's
guys.
great. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes. So we've got some questions. We first have a question from Lawrence Gianluca. He was just asking if he heard you correctly. You mentioned a new browser for viewing the search in different countries. What's it called?
It's an SEO browser. I mean, it's I try to do a spelling. So BROWSE, Browse. It's a very simple browser for just meant for doing SEO stuff and analysis. There you can it's substantially based on VPN. So what you can do is with this tool is you can have a query, choose what geo you want to explore, and for instance, United States or UK, and so it's really easy. One of the nicest things is that you can obviously navigate everything as it was a browser, a normal browser, and you can you can set it up in order to automatically save a snapshot of what you are seeing in the browser. So this is really, really nice in order to do this kind of analysis and quick analysis for international SEO. Or even if you are not doing international SEO, I think you can do also, I don't know if you can do it also on a very local level. If you need to do something similar, you can, it's not the only tool, you can use also their SERPA, one of the tool of Mobile Moxie by Cindy Crum that allows to do this kind of analysis on a mobile version.
I will say that, well, if maybe even easier, there is this extension for Chrome and also for Firefox, SEO Minion. That is an SEO extension that does many things, metadata, validation, etc. But it does also has a location simulator that is actually really good because it allows you to see two SERPs together and to compare them. So, for example, if you want to compare the results for the US in English or the US in Spanish or the US and the UK at the same time, you can do it. So, and it actually works very, very well. SEO Minion is called.
That's great. Will we be able to
Minion
get
like the Minion?
Like the Minion seems.
Will we be able to get links for both of those to put in our blog later?
Or would you be able to maybe share that also on Twitter afterwards? We'll tag you guys. We'd appreciate your time, and then you can reply with the plugins. Thank you.
Yeah, I just added the URL there in the comments.
So we have another question for Aleyda. When do you need to start looking at hreflang for your international site? So for example, if you have a US, UK site, do you need hreflang?
I think that in most cases, the need of hreflang arises when you are targeting different country markets that speak the same language. So this is when most of the overlay and erroneous ranking for incorrect countries end up happening. Think what is the goal of hreflang? The goal of hreflang is to notify or to send a signal to Google, so they know when they will tend to show a page that is the incorrect one for that market. So the UK one for the US or the Australian one in the US, because the languages are the same. So the query might match and can be relevant for all of these different URLs, these different pages that you have, but that are not duplicates realistically because they are targeting their own different markets and different audiences, right? So with hreflang annotations, what you do is you give an additional internationalization signal that aligns together with the use of CCTLDs or geolocation through the Google Search Console, etc. The importance here is to align all the signals together and provide a consistent signal to Google. And what it will tell is, okay, no, this page that that is you're going to run here, it has an alternate page that is the one that is properly targeted for this particular market, for this particular country. So it's better that Google shows that instead, and Google then will show that page instead. So I will say the best way to verify that if you do need hreflang annotations, if you don't have that many resources, and it's not a thing of a matter of nice to have, is because if you really need it, is to go and check if you are getting traffic to your US version from the UK, from Australia, from other markets, while you do have already pages, specific pages targeting towards those markets, and then check which are those pages bringing traffic from those markets, and verify if you have alternate versions of those pages for those other countries. And if you do, these are great candidates of pages where you can prioritize these hreflang annotations, and you know that the effort of the implementation there will really pay off, because you will be actually notifying Google about the geolocation of these pages that actually have an issue of geolocation, right? So this, I will say, is the best way to prioritize this implementation.
Great, thank you for that. So we have a question from Marco. He says that hreflang implementation through XML Sitemap, how common is it? And if you can mention a brand that do it correctly.
So I have to say something. hreflang annotation implementation through XML Sitemap is the best when you don't have resources from a technical perspective or flexibility to do it so in the HTML head, when you cannot change it, or you have dozens of versions and including all those extra tags in the HTML head. Maybe it's not the best from a speed perspective or code cleaning perspective also. So I will say, if you do have many different international versions, XML Sitemaps implementation work as well as the HTML one. So go ahead. There is a tool actually that if you do have an enterprise type of setting with dozens of versions, etc., and you may need to generate many URLs there, take a look at the hreflang builder from Bill Hunt. It's a paid tool, but it totally pays off if you have a large version, an important version that you need to implement. And yes, it should be with the proper support of the tool or it should be pretty straightforward, as long as you make sure that you only include indexable URLs there, not URLs that are redirecting, not URLs that are triggering errors, not URLs that are canonicalized to others. These should be indexable URLs. So it's important that you prioritize and you have the flexibility to make sure which are the URLs that you are included there.
Anything else that Nitin or Gianluca would like to add to that?
Well, Aleyda substantially covered it all. I think that for the XML sitemap, yes, it's fundamental for when you have tons of version. But also maybe if you have few versions, but you are targeting with these nightmares of .eu version that are substantially when targeting with the hreflang every single country in Europe. So that can be something like 43 hreflang annotation in the HTML code. So in this occasion, yes, I too recommend using the XML implementation. And somehow this is also what Aleyda was saying at the end. It's really coming to what I was saying also as my first tip. We know that when in the XML sitemap, we should always put only those URLs that are indexable and canonical URLs. And this is, if you check this before, for instance, implementing the hreflang into the sitemap, then you are not going to have problems, hopefully. But you are going to quit a big part of the problem that usually are associated with an incorrect implementation of hreflang. So this is what I can add to what Aleyda already said.
Yeah, I think they've covered everything about it. So Aleyda's website also has a tool which helps you basically build XML sitemaps. So if you want to play with it and want to just understand how it works, so I can also recommend that tool, and that's for free. So you don't have to pay anything, and you can just play with it and then see how it works, and then maybe sit with your development team and then ask them how to implement it exactly, and then it's all yours.
Thank you. So we have time for one last question, and we have a question from Carlos. He said he once had to deal with a development team that implemented hreflang tags through Google Tag Manager. Is this a recommended practice? Can it potentially be harmful?
Well, I have to say that as with everything relying on Google Tag Manager, right? I will say that this is an add-on, a fix, like a patch, not a real solution, right? Because sometimes if you don't have any other way, you will end up implementing, even I have seen cases of implementing canonical tags, or not only hreflang annotation, right? But implemented also structured data using Google Tag Manager, many other implementations that are doable over there. But realistically, the issues, because somebody can change the configuration, even though Google it's crawling and rendering JavaScript much better these days. Realistically, if you have a huge website with millions of URLs, sometimes and the pages take very long to load, you may end up having issues, and realistically you want to be in control. So I will say, instead of implementing it through Google Tag Manager, I will try instead of that, before doing that, to do it so via XML Sitemaps, that I will say that give you much more control. Of course, if XML Sitemaps is not doable, doing through the HTML head area is not doable. HTTP header, that is another way that you can actually use to implement it. But again, it is not very easy to validate, also to monitor, to easily check if it is okay. So I will say better to stay away if it is really not required, if it is a non-HTML type of document. So I will say it very, like, if you need to do it because there's no other way, okay, go ahead. But if you can avoid it by implemented with XML Sitemaps, for example, that also allows you to be more in control and not rely completely in development resources, I will say better go with XML Sitemaps.
I totally agree. I think a classic situation can be with one of let's say, some critical situation. Or let's say you have a Shopify e-commerce where you cannot really manage a sitemap, so you don't have the opportunity to implement the hreflang in the sitemaps. But then still you have some difficulties to deal with hreflang in the HTML code. So as a first sort of ER action for solving the problem of misaligned URLs because of hreflang absence or misconfiguration, yes, you can try to use, you can go and use the tag manager with all the BSs that Aleyda described. But it's just really like a patch before you are able to do something else.
Yeah, well, Google Tag Manager is something that you can probably 99% guarantee that it will load for you, but not 100%. And something which you cannot say with 100% confidence that it will work for you, it will load, and it will also load all the tags you have. I think you should not rely that solution for something like hreflang tags, which is mandatory, not good to have. So canonical, index, no index, hreflang tags, all these elements are really, really important and basically can change the game for you. So for these things, I would not recommend using a solution which is not 100%.
Yes, another thing is the structured data. The structured data, I mean, with JSON, you can put it in every place, also in the body, at the end of the body. We know that everything which is touching the head section of a page is always critical. So I wouldn't play too much with that section of the page.
Well, that's great. Thank you, guys. I think that's all we have time for today. So thank you for joining us. Back over to Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
It was a
Karen. Thank you very
pleasure.
much. Yeah, thank you, Gianluca, Nitin, and Aleyda. Hope we can see you all in a conference soon. There's some great tips if anybody wants to get hold of you. So these are your details here, but we'll also be tagging you on LinkedIn and Twitter as well after the show. And we will also be having our Tea Time SEO tomorrow, again 4 p.m., and we'll be talking about driving more traffic to e-commerce sites with Lucinda Wood, Christina Azarenko, and Paul Lovell. So tune in tomorrow, 4 p.m. You'll have Carrie and Lawrence O'Toole hosting you. And bring your cake or coffee or tea, whatever it is, and also take some photos of it. What's your Tea Time SEO view? And tweet to Authoritas. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming today, and some of our regular attendees too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.